What's up, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another Party Knife Glitch Guide tutorial. Now, in my Skip Brigade video, I promised that if you guys seemed to want more of these videos, I would make more, and the response to that seemed to be a resounding yes. So, as promised, I've been working on the next 4 episodes of the Glitch Guide series, and to start things off, we're revisiting an old favorite, which was previously patched, but has been brought back to life with new entry and exit points. I am of course talking about the PITT, and as always we're gonna start off with one of those runs where everything just seems to fall into place, just to give you guys an idea of what the skip entails, followed by a more in-depth look at all the points of interest, the first of which is coming up right here. Now, this teleport is fairly straightforward. There are several ways to get through. Now, it can in fact be done with just one teleport. However, I have found that it's better and more consistent to teleport up first, because otherwise you can't actually see your teleport very well while blocking, especially under pressure, which is why I've chosen to do that, but we'll get into more detail with that later in the guide. Once you're on the other side, you want to follow this path all the way up to the rocks. Once you're at the rocks, you want to follow them straight forward, and it's important that you don't go right here. You want to go through the building to the left of these rocks, and then you want to make sure you just follow the path straight forward, so you always have these cliffs on the right side. And if you keep following the cliffs, you will eventually reach this wall. Now, this wall is immaterial, so you can walk straight through it, and once you're on the other side, you've reached the re-entry point of the map. Now, on the left side of this house, you basically just jump over here, and this teleport is super easy, and there are several placements that work, but I've found that the best one is the one right there. And again, we're gonna go into that again in more detail later, so don't worry about it. Now, you could in fact have glitched all the way to the end of the map, straight to the Bridge of Shadows, and skip this entire section, but the problem is that this is one of those maps where if you don't actually finish the end event, aka pull the lever in this case, then you can't actually win the map, which is why we're choosing to enter the map here. Now, depending on your level of confidence, you might want to consider resting all of your teammates here, but if you're used to solo running and you know how to run this end event, then it's pretty straightforward. The key is to stick to the middle as much as possible, such that the floor could drop on either side and you still wouldn't drop to the ground. Now, if it's your first time doing that, then it might seem a little bit nerve-wracking at first, but I guarantee you it's not as hard as it looks. That is, assuming you think it looks hard, of course. But either way, once you're comfortable with this technique, the end event really shouldn't prove an obstacle at all. And I haven't actually timed the events, but I'm pretty sure an imperfect run, without major distractions, clocks in somewhere around like 3 minutes, maybe a little bit less. Now, just before we get teleport technical, I think it's important to take a step back and understand the primary variables that determine whether or not you are successful in a scenario where you've already mastered the basic entry and exit points. Now, in order to illustrate this as well as increase your familiarity with the route, I'm going to show you one of my earliest test runs, which I recorded prior to my knowledge of the solutions that I'm going to present you with, because that part is really what's going to separate a 90% success rate from a 30% success rate. And unsurprisingly, like so many other solo runs, it comes down to the boss trigger and the wall that he spawns. And like you guys know, at least those of you who watch my videos more frequently, I value the consistency of the win far higher than the potential speed of the run. Now, do notice that unlike last run, I end up under the map, which is where most of the teleports are gonna put you. But getting back up is no biggie, and you'll soon find yourself on the same path that we did last run. Now, allow me to save you a fuckload of time, and simply take my word for it when I tell you to follow the rocks up here, and do not try to find a better path by going up here on the right side and across. Now, the reason I'm mentioning that is because what at first looks like an even better skip to an even better spot is, regardless of your ingenuity, going to be cut short by the fact that the entire island on the other side is immaterial. Trust me, I've tried, and so have many others, and nothing on the right side of these cliffs are going to lead to anything that you can actually touch. And just in case you haven't already, please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for many more glitch guides. I mean, come on guys, you can trust the ninja, and that way you won't miss any of the upcoming glitch guides. It's a win-win. Anyways, as you can see here, you quite often trigger a boss at the end, especially if you're running on one of the higher difficulties. Now, as I mentioned earlier, the problem isn't the boss itself, It's the wall that he spawns, and as you can see here, the third boss wall is actually going to block you and prevent you from actually triggering the end event until you kill him. Now, there are 3 solutions to this problem, 2 preemptive and 1 reactive. Now, let's start with the worst of the 3, which is the reactive, which is only necessary in scenarios where the boss triggers after you re-enter the map, and consists of getting your ass to the nearest safe spot as soon as possible, and then taking out the boss from there. So far, I've found at least 3 safe spots in close proximity to the map re-entry point, but keep in mind that this does not work for things like Storm Fiends, and also poses other risks, such as assassins, gunners, or blightstormers. Which is why I strongly recommend always going for the 2 preemptive methods first, which I'm gonna showcase in this last clip before we get to the Teleportation Technicals. Now, assuming you have this thing called friends that are in your game and would like to participate, make sure you tell them to stay alive until you reach somewhere around this point, upon which you can tell them to suicide, which should ensure their respawn location somewhere at the end of the map. Now, the reason you should be quite picky about this last teleport is to prevent interacting with the third boss trigger, since you're also able to interact with the second boss trigger from inside the house. This is done simply by walking on the left side here and moving a little bit forward. Now, the reason I used my secondary ulti was simply to start the timer for my career ability cooldown. And if you're wondering why you want to activate the secondary boss trigger, it's simply because you can't have 2 active boss triggers in a row. Any map with 2 boss spawns is always gonna have trigger 1 and 3, never 1 and 2 or 2 and 3. Which means successfully activating the second boss trigger is gonna prevent the third and final boss spawn, which puts up the wall, preventing us from progressing. Now, assuming a boss does trigger, the second preemptive strategy simply comes down to a bit of patience. Use the safety of the house to clear any special spawns, and wait for a suitable time to determine whether or not you triggered the second or the third boss spawn. If you triggered the third boss, he should appear shortly, allowing you to kill him from the safety of the house. If no one appears, you likely triggered the second boss, allowing you to progress without further worries. Now, if you're not entirely sure, you can always look and check if the second boss wall is up. Now, if it is, you're good to go, but if it isn't, make sure you find a safe spot as soon as possible, from which to take out the fast approaching boss. Now, if no boss is triggered by the time you reach this point, you really have no choice but to just wait for your career ability cooldown, visualize which safe spot you're gonna use if you do get a boss spawn, and then pray to Sigmar that you don't, and hope he's in a good mood, as you're left with no other options but to make a run for it and hope for the best. And just in case he does screw you over and spawn a boss right in front of you here, you should know that your last line of defense is this safe spot that I've marked with a red circle, although I'm certain if you look hard enough, there are many more spots just like it. And once the boss wall is gone, well, you know what to do next, which is run for your life! Don't look back! Just get to the portal, get to the freaking portal! You're almost there! Portal. God, I love portal. Oh wait, where was I? Oh yeah, teleportation. Now, obviously the important of the 2 teleports to master is the first one, since you have all the time in the world for the second one. But I thought I'd start off by showing you guys how to do it in 1 teleport, for those of you who want to optimize your timed runs, or perhaps you just find it easier this way. Now, with a bit of practice, it's totally doable even under pressure. However, I do recommend that those of you who aren't frequent glitch and solo runners stick to the double teleport, simply because it's much more forgiving. Your initial teleport combined with your elevated position gives you a decent time window to place the teleport, while also providing proper visual confirmation, not to mention an increased amount of potentially successful teleport locations. So at least assuming you're in a rush and several minions are aggroed on you, your safest bet is the double teleport. But of course, at the end of the day, which path you choose based on your preferences is entirely your decision to make. And my recommendations are primarily targeted at those of you who are curious and really want to try it out for a couple of runs, but most likely aren't going to bother with the time investment it takes to master it. And I figured most of you, or at least a large portion, fall into that category, and I feel like it would be sad if you should walk away empty-handed. Now, there is one last option for those of you who like to take your time. Now, if you move up here, you can teleport to the roof. Now, from the roof, there is another way you can use essentially the same glitch. And a shout out to level 12 Lobster for showing me the roof teleport. I mean, I assume lobsters have hearing, but to be quite frank, I honestly don't know. Now, the key here is to get your teleport icon on top of the central wooden beam, getting you through the invisible wall and landing you safely on the roof, followed by a short simple drop to the ground, putting you right where you need to be in order to run the exact same route that you've seen in this video so far. Last but not least, we have the entry teleport, which again is super easy. Just take your time, there's no stress, there's no worries here, nothing can attack you here, I guarantee it. So do spend that extra second just to be absolutely certain that you got the right teleport. And although your overall build doesn't really matter that much for this glitch, other than the double teleport that is, you are going to be covering quite a distance, which is why I suggest the dagger, 2 stamina on both the dagger and the necklace, and make sure on your trinket that you put on movement speed and stamina recovery in order to cover as much ground as possible in as little time as possible. Anyways, that's all I had for you guys this time. I've decided to introduce a new reoccurring feature and let you guys decide which map I'm gonna do next for each episode of the Glitch Guide series. This week you can choose between 4 different maps, ranging from Against the Grain, Fort Braxenbrücke, Hail Scourge, and Engines of War. And all you gotta do to vote is let me know in a comment however you see fit, and I'll count up all the votes and do the map that gets the most votes. So all that's left to say is thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed, please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. I love you guys, stay awesome, peace out. Fun little explosion!